Okay, welcome all. We on the 26th of the 2nd, another GPMS representative roundtable meeting. Today's topics or agendas, apart from sharing everything that is coming to each, is somewhere around, let's keep it somewhere around divine law, the aspects of natural divine or divine natural law, and topics of suiting that as we move forward. So open the floor to whoever wishes to start sharing what they're doing. Pin drop moment again, which is standard.
Well, may I perhaps what I wish to do, we may have some new members on to this meeting for the first time. However, what is occurring, to let everyone know, is that I anticipate, and I'd love for you to add to this, Lee, I anticipate an influx of contributors coming in here at this time. Would you wish to add anything to that, Lee?
Okay, hands in the air. Okay, with the way the website's been working there, let's say from the beginning when it was first designed, we've had issues with the automated email services, sending out automated emails to those who wished to contribute. So this transpired, we couldn't fix it, we just couldn't get around it. So in the end, I just emailed everybody monthly from different accounts, because I also found different email accounts of mine were also, let's say, having problems getting received or being sent. So got around this, and I started to do this on a monthly basis, and have been doing that for quite a wee while now. I sold my house just before Christmas, and subsequently I've been in transition, if you will, and I thought I'd sent the emails out to the December contributors, but it transpired yesterday I looked and I hadn't. I thought it was just January and February. So effectively what's happened is, since November, all of the people that wanted to volunteer and help, divinely so it seems, didn't receive the information. Sent them out yesterday. So again, for whatever reason, the same as the website being, we would consider it held up, but it wasn't. It's not delayed. There were some reasons behind this that outside of my purview, but I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. The new emails went out yesterday, and we would consider that to be the opening now again for another, moving forward with new ones coming in with different skill sets, etc., which will take us into this next phase, whatever that transpires to be. Is that all right for your brother? That's about as well.
I love you. I love you, brother. Thank you so much. So, just to elaborate a little bit further on this, with, let's say, any running a business or what have you, or a company in the old way, that would have created a great panic. However, the difference with GPMS is everything is divinely timed. We know this and we recognize it, meaning that there was never any wrong and there was never any real opposition to it. So it then becomes all divine timing. And, when we look at the last couple months, without going into detail, you could see how the time is also not right. But with GPMS, it's such a powerful energetic vehicle as a whole, because what you're doing is you're combining genuine, lawful agreements. And these agreements, when everyone agrees, is actually from the superior law upon the planet. It is the people's law. And having said that, it has the highest precedence in this reality, and it has an energetic effect. So I just needed to reiterate and say that once again, but because it has such an energetic, impactful effect on reality, it is divinely regulated and coordinated through such things as a few months no one got the contributors link to come into the group, because everything is also divinely regulated and overseen from a higher level upon the planet, with the rate of destruction of the old world and the rate of construction. So in the old world, for example, with the destruction, the old system has to deteriorate, and ones that are still in that old system, they are being suppressed and compressed more and more to make a choice to change the world. And so this is why it's so important. And again, with this, no one can escape what is occurring in the, the outside system, the matrix, if you will. And it's all designed this way. So they do inevitably, and imminently, I wish to say, make the choices.
This is the thing about this is perfect, brother. I mean, in the old style of thinking, I would have felt a little bit shame, guilt, all of these old things. Now I just looked at it and chuckled, because divinely, this is all about quality. So as people are releasing their needs and desires and wants and selfishness coming into GPMS, that's the purity. So we are going through that phase, and it's evidential at a level of consciousness, or a level of designation, if you will, role, that this is the right time for that next step. So perfect, brother, perfect.
Yeah, and you look at these coming converging right at this point, which is totally indicative of a huge, at least branch forward, not a branch, a huge, whatever a great word is. But what you see is the indicators of, perhaps over 100 contributors or more coming in, perhaps more or less instantaneously, at the same time that we have a huge group from India, and the Philippines has not started yet, but Peru, some other countries are, as a result of our website just being inaccessible for, several weeks. It has created a backlog of ones ready to log, register their accords or agreements, and at the same time, a huge group of new volunteers and contributors to come in as well as we take it forward. So when you look at this, everything is a very beautifully designed as a power bomb, if you will. So it's going to have great effects. Thank you.
Dean, brother.
Yeah, just taking it over to the natural law part, what we were discussing before. I have no idea why we need to change anything on there in regards to the natural law personally, because I saw it and many others have seen it. And we know many people are struggling and will struggle anyway. No matter what words you put there, their consciousness at that point will still have to go through an experience to find that for themselves. The one thing I would sort of maybe look to adding, and maybe that helped me a little bit in my consciousness early on, is I looked quite far into the universal laws. And that was in my consciousness for a good period of time, well before I arrived here. So maybe a little bit of understanding on the universal laws on the website may help, just because it may have helped me. I don't know. But for myself, as soon as I saw it, I saw it. I understand that everybody's going through their own release mechanism and of stories and everything else. So I don't know how much you can enhance it for others to fully understand it, or is it a point of just allowing the soul to process it and go through that within themselves?
Well, what I wish to say with this, with the divine law page, divine natural universal law page, what that is going to be one page, which is the statement that is fully aligned with the new reality. And it does not need to be defined, as you're saying, and because it just is. But we need to just at least just keep something simple. Now, as you're saying, during the course of the last few days with to comprise a very compressed, compact version to get to the very simplicity of it, to have it prepared for the new world without any connection to here. Looking at descriptions and definitions and theories and going into all of this just lightly on the internet, what I saw is just a huge mess, a confusion that is out there, contradictions, but also the contradiction to divine natural law is done intentional by the old system. So this is why it's all confusing and complex to get, if you will, an accurate definition on it. And this is also why with GPMS, we have to have that blunt, concise statement of what it is. It's simple in one sentence or two. And we need to have it in layman's terms so that it's so easy, you know, and getting rid of that legal ease to the utmost degree to make it this simple. But it is the foundational law for the new world. So it has to reflect fully the new world, and it cannot have any transitory steps in it with that. And when you look at this also, what I need to say, this one page is a simple description, our concrete definition of what divine law is, and just list a few of the rights as we did, you know, the God creator given rights as the fundamental basis. But let's say the all-encompassing law, which is written simply on one page, and it's more or less just the guidelines. It's a constitution, this one page. And this is all that we need for the new world. Because, you know, one of the things what we are doing is you're eliminating all of the reasons for the complex legal system to keep the capitalistic system intact and to keep all of its ill intent structure. We're no longer there in that. We are creating the new world that is not capitalistic. It's egalitarian based. It's a whole new world. And it does not need to be conditioned, regulated, or defined so complex.
Before I hand you over, Dean, I'm just going to give one more to what Rick's just said. And this came up this week, and it's another sticking point. Of course, it isn't. It's in the systems and the consciousness that's involved in the systems. But there's a conflation between divine natural, because in the system, there's a natural law, which is defined as man, the law of man, but there's also a divine law, which is defined as handed down by something ab extra to man, i.e. a divinity or an anthropomorphized being. So divine law and natural law are two different things. And when we conflate them, it causes confusion. So divine natural law causes confusion. And my reply to that is good. Be confused. Because confusion is the prelude to simplicity. So but we are going through this process, and it's very, very interesting to try to juggle all of these things. But it's so simple, as Rick is saying, that we don't need to define, we just need to outline. We don't need to go into universal, although we can use the word universal, but then we could use the word absolute. So again, we've got all of these words, and I know what you're referring to, Dean, with the law of one and all that sort of stuff. But that's not necessarily what we're talking to here, albeit others can go to that from what we're talking to, because that will come in. You know, it's all the same. Once you get into that instrument, once you get into that outline, then all of them come into one, right? But this is for others to realize. And what we're doing right now and what we're talking to right now is absolutely simplifying this, giving outline and just no definition per se, more what will be. So over to you, brother.
Yeah, I understand that. I agree with you completely. But on a level of what Rick was saying in the simplified, the soul and the higher self knows. It knows the truth. It knows how to behave. So why do we need to try and educate or try and push, not push, or just it's not a trying at all. As far as I can see, the words fully resonate with my heart and are in my frequency. And why others it isn't quite there fully yet is because they're on their experience and they're still going through the struggles, a little bit of self. That's the outside, that's the law, that's all these fake areas of history and the law itself. So I'm saying I just don't see why we need to sort of change it, because it's the soul knows. But also on the universal aspects, isn't it time we sort of help people to better understand the universal aspect of law now? Isn't it time, as we're opening up to much more of our divineness, you know, the divine being they are, isn't it time for us to expand that universal aspect? I'm not saying we have to, I'm just sort of bringing it to the table.
Right. Well, let me ask you the first one. We're not changing it, we're refining it, which is simplifying it and making it more refined. It's not about taking content and making it but more verbose. In fact, it's simplifying it. So please don't think that we're taking it and changing it. It's not. This is taking it and making it more focused. And of course, the beauty of the GPMS website is it's non-educational. The GPMS website is realizational. So what we do with regards to educating others on universal law as individual designees or in our own roles, perfect. But it doesn't need to be, you know, otherwise we're going into, well, if you're educating on that, why aren't you educating on this? And that's not the role of the website. That's the role of the mentors and the teachers and the guides and the assistants that is prevalent across the plane. So that's what I would put to that. But I believe, Rick, you had your hand up first, brother.
Yes, thank you. And what I wish to do is thank you so much, both of you, for speaking about this. And the reality and the truth is that divine law, the intrinsic moral knowing of one, what is right or wrong, it's ingrained within. This is natural divine law, or whatever other descriptive word, absolute, as we said. So I need to say that this is natural, which we know. And like Lee says, I love his analogy and example. When you go into someone's house, you know how to behave. That means it's intrinsic. You know this, that you don't need it written.
Innate, brother, innate.
Innate. Thank you. And I need to start using that word. Yes, it's innate. It's ingrained within. It's integrated. So this cannot be disputed or disputed or refuted, because it just is. And, you know, when we use examples like I did, I think last night, what I wrote, you know, when a child is born, it already has innate that knowing of how to suckle. And this shows you that the innate knowing is there within the soul. Even when the child is born, it knows how to cry, for example. So, you know, these are involuntary actions, if you will, that gives the instruction from the soul. So having said this, you do not need to prove nor define divine law. It just is. Now, when we jump over to man-made law, this is artificial because it's not innate. And it's also inferior to natural divine law, which is innate and is the basis and foundation of all law. So having said this, there is no competition nor comparison to any man-made laws to natural law. Lee, will you elaborate on that?
No, I don't need to, brother. I talked about organic versus inorganic. You know, there's all sorts of these things. I think you said enough, my friend. And I'd like to pass it over to Michael. I mean, I give us a second. Michael had his hand up first, and then we'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, actually, what I wanted to say sort of is very complemented by what Rick was just saying, and something you said earlier about the refining, the simplification in order to bring it so it's on one sheet of paper. In my mind, especially recently, I've been thinking that it should be refined even further. I would like it so it would be in one paragraph, and it would be something, if I can see if I can articulate it, it would be something along the lines of, if something doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. Thus then, an investigation should be triggered into the discovery of why it doesn't seem right. Upon the arrival of why, then action should be considered and then judged on merit and taken. And pretty much that sums it all up. Because as Rick was saying, the innate understanding of right, wrong, if something doesn't seem right, there's a reason for it. And if the world GPMS is moving towards or is wanting to bring into fruition, in theory, there should be nothing that doesn't seem right. Certainly not to the degree that things don't seem right in the world as it exists today. And so what we're saying with that statement is honor and acknowledge the innate instinct that we have for things to be wrong or right, or to be unaligned, and to then understand that there is a process which can be engaged upon to rapidly make the corrections so that it becomes seamless and correct and in balance again. Yeah, I think I articulated that to the
Lovely,
degree
brother.
I wanted to.
We'll I believe what will happen is that the outline that Rick is working on right now will encompass that, and you can by all means stand on a podium with 50 million in front of you and orate it like that should you wish. That's beautiful. Minette, over to you.
Mike,
Oh, sorry, brother.
if I may, Mike, send that to I later privately. I'll just look at it. But, you know, with what you said, that comes as part of what I would call a people's court if it's needed later, if the people needs any form of a judgment vehicle, if you will. However, we're during the course of this, and hopefully upon implementation, there will be no need, no requirement for any judgment vehicle. And it's because there are huge events playing out that will support what I just said without getting into it. But
I understand that. I would like to caveat as well. But it's something that I get what you say. It's not just something that would be in a court of law, so to speak, of a judgment against somebody. It's something that would include that, certainly, but it would be a more universal coverage. So, for instance, like how an engineer would look at the way something is working and see, that doesn't seem right. That seems like it could be far more. And then when he applies what I just said, why doesn't that seem right? He investigates it. Okay, because it's not as efficient as it could be because of X, Y, and Z. Now that I know that, this is the action I can take. He then applies those actions, and then that thing suddenly becomes the maximum amount of efficiency it was. It applies in that example as an engineering trope, or it also applies in a court of law against judging people. It's an attempt at a universal principle that encompasses the understanding of universal natural law, but how it applies not just to individual people, but to literally the space and the reality around us in practical applications as well.
You're talking to the mechanic of it, brother, which is awesome. And I love mechanics, as you well know. But we're talking to the outline of it, not the mechanic of it. So we're talking to what it is as opposed to how it would be applied. This is the slight difference in what we're speaking to right now as to what Rick's talking to. So these
can you separate the two though?
Well, you can, but we don't need to. This is the point. See, all we need to do is outline, because we don't need to explain how. That's already known. Otherwise, we start getting into discussions about how does that work and stuff. 2 seconds. There's just a bit of noise coming in. So yes, I mean, what we're talking to is the outline of that, and then how that works. So for instance, we need to build an engine. Well, this is what we want. This is how it's going to be. It's an engine that has to do this. Then you get the mechanic of it. So this is, we don't need to define any or explain any of that like you've just beautifully done, but it's Occam's, brother. It's Occam's razor, the simplest solution and the most efficient way to get to the most benevolent and the most equal, which is
is divine and natural law.
Yes.
In its essence.
Yes. So we outline that but I love what you're saying. And this is the beauty about these discussions, is we can move through these areas of the mechanic and others can see that this is a simple mechanic. That doesn't work. How would it look? How would it work better if we did this? Well, let's do that then. It's that simple, isn't it? Minette, over to you. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. Okay, so in the chat box,
Can I stop you? You're breaking up really badly.
Okay, in the chat box,
No,
I posted the image.
it's very bad connection.
Lee, tell her
I
to
pretend
turn her
to
camera off and try that. Might give her more bandwidth.
Yeah, maybe. Try again, Minette.
Okay, I've done that. Is that better?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Is that better?
Yes, yes, by all means, carry on. It's much better.
Okay, so in the chat box, I've put an image. It's about 144 cells. All right, so that is the akininic cells, which never dies in anybody. So that is the ultimate divine source, infinite source cells in everyone's body. So you were talking about, and the doorway or the keys, the thymus gland that we will use. So if we have to go the scientific way, that would be the way. So in that akininic cells, 144 cells, the divine blueprint has been stored for every person, for every human being. Although everything is in the flow, we want to keep it in the flow. The GPMS is that's what it's all about. I know I'm only coming on board now, but there was a lot of people that still need to awake. And a lot of solar energy that is awakening people into, their minds are changing. You can see that, the way that they are reacting towards certain things. I think that is the focus point that we need to change. The focus point is not to focus on how people are not changing, why people are not changing, and why that lies in the, why they are not divinely awakened enough or anything like that. It is to focus on the set blueprint of the end goal that we actually want to do. And that is what will bring people on board. It's when we do meditations as a group on a specific area, like I did with my energy and some other people's groups' energy. When the cyclone was headed for South Africa, I basically just said to them, well, there's no need to stress. We'll just put some meditational energy towards that, and we'll reduce the impact to just a plain storm. And that's what happened. So to get people on board is not to go the normal route of the old systems. It is to do it on a different spiritual tool way, using our spiritual tools and coming together as groups. And I'm so happy that you guys started off with the music, or the guy, I can't remember what is his name, that defined or wanted to know about the music that he was writing and the message that is given to you or that he has received. But that is the exact tool that we have to use. Through music in the ancient Egypt times, that's how they moved and healed and did a lot of things. So this is my message to you guys. So I'm following what you are saying. The rest will follow. It is for us to have patience. People will have to, it's going to take time for people to change, and it will happen in different bubbles and groups coming together, which will eventually form one big bubble. And yes, last point, we need to bring in the universal. It cannot just be focused earthly wise. We are part of the universe. It's a universal upgrade. It's a universal ascension. It is, and this universe is part of a multiverse, part of a cosmoverse. So even though we're upgrading the whole cosmoverse. So, and all the other multiverses are watching what we are doing because they want to go the same route. Back to you, brother.
Beautiful, Minette, beautiful. And I totally agree. The universal aspect is in there, and it will be in the wording. We've been asked a few times to remove some words like divine, and there's no way that's going to happen. It can't happen because there is more, regardless as to the limitation of those that may see less. So and I totally agree with you about focusing on the end game, not the perceived issues at the now, because the energetics of all of this is carrying everything forward, and that's what we are doing with this, is refining, focusing, and never negotiating anything lesser. So beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, they call it a bell effect. If you go onto statistical graphs, you will have a bell effect. And the bell effect is raising the bottom bar all the time. And the top pitch of the people are raising that bar. And that bar is being exactly, and the curve will move up. And that will become the norm. As the bottom bar is raised up, that becomes the norm in the collective consciousness. And that can only happen if we stay on our focused path of what we want the new earth to be. But it doesn't help to stay and look in our rear view mirror all the time and wanting to point fingers at that side. It's not going to happen. People are on an individual journey as well. We need to remember that. And in that individual journey is where they will grow on their own time, divine time, set by their contracts as they came to earth, which they agreed to. So we cannot change that. That is something that we need to stay in the flow with. So for us, that is a weight, and on this journey, and as the leaders and at the top, we just need to stay in the flow, and we just need to stay in the calmness. We need to keep the harmony. We need to keep the balance, as that is the key to the road forward. And the balance is between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, or the goddess and the god. It doesn't matter. It is the triad. It is the trinity. It is the pyramid structure. It is the Merkaba flow of each person as well, collectively adding onto that the total outcome that we're going to have.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yep, it's the story we talk to all the time in the background, maybe not so much front and center, but a lot of the time we do bring it in front and center. So please, I'm very grateful for you to bring it front and center for everybody else to hear, should they be able to. So thank you again. Over to you, Dean, brother.
Yeah, I misinterpreted the beginning there. I actually thought we were going to overcomplicate it all, and it wasn't. It was becoming simplified, and that's what I was sort of sticking to. Let's stick to the simple. Yeah, just another thought for the people that are watching this. It's law. All of it is not real. It's all in your head, and it's been put there. So please sit with inside yourself and ask yourself, why are you scared? What makes you scared of this law system that's there? Because it's not there. It's not real.
Legal system as well. We're talking to what Dean's talking referring to is the legal system. There is no law system really out there at all. It's just a legal system. But nevertheless, Michael, over to you, brother.
Yeah, just a quick question. Something's just popped into my mind about this. It's a very subtle little thing that when we talk to divine law, it seems to me that for those people who maybe have only lightly brushed this topic or subject, or only just coming into it and sort of learning about it, it seems to me that there might be like an immediate leaning towards the idea that we're talking about divine law as a mechanism of governance. And I think maybe there should be more emphasis on pushing the understanding that it's not a mechanism of governance. It is a state of being. We're not talking about divine law in terms of, as was just previously stated, legality and all this. It's not a mechanism of governance. It's a state of being. True divine law is that which is natural, as the words we've been using, natural, innate, universal. It's there regardless of man's intervention to it. It's not a mechanism of governance. You could philosophically argue that it's a mechanism of nature, but it's really more of a state of being. And that when all human beings are truly in balance and understand the nature of balance, then it will just be that which is, not something that has to be enforced.
I like what you're saying, brother, but that's enough on that now. With the governance thing, and that's a state of mind as well. It doesn't matter what you say. If you use the word law, some people may conflate that into governance. It's not the, the divine law is not the divine that's in that, it's the law. So as soon as you use that, they think it could be used as a state of governance. But when you actually simplify it to divine law at its basis is do no harm to anyone or anything. How's that governance, but this is again in the perspective of those,
which is why I'm saying, is that something we need to work to make clear?
No, because we're not worried about others' perspective. Bear in mind, we're going past that. What they carry with them as their own baggage per se is not our gig to remove. This isn't a point of what might they think, what might they feel, what might they see. This is a point of what is. And that's where exactly what Minette is just saying is we speak to what is as opposed to what we perceive they may see the problems as. Now, on an individual level, how we develop that and how we explain that is up to us. But in the website level and its purity and the foundational level of GPMS, we don't pander to others' perspectives or beliefs because they're not coming from a place of the unlimited natural. They may be coming from a place of fear-based, unnatural thinking. That's not for us to worry about, brother. That will be released through the energetics of us maintaining our stance of that will be released. We don't need to pander to it. So we see it for what it is and we speak to it as we will, but we don't then dip into that with the website or any definition, because if we do, then we're saying that this is real and we must do something about it. No, what we do about it is we stay above it because we know what's truer than what that is. And we explain that where we need to, but not through the GPMS instrument itself, but through the representatives, should they be asked the questions. That's what I would suggest, brother.
When we look at, I'm seeing what Mike is saying, when we look at the word law, when we have divine law, that the energetics around that word law as well. So I'm just speaking neutrally. So what I wrote down is what Mike said, that perhaps we can say this, but I also give it consideration for on the website that divine law maintains a state of being, divine being, if you will. But I'm just, what I'm doing is just swimming around here looking at something because I recognize, the word law. And then also, how do we ever escape that? And do we need to define the word law? What is there another way, or what is the opinion here? Do we keep, natural law, divine law, whatever that descriptive term is? But the law, the word law itself, is there, does that, I wish to say yes, it remains intact because it is a divine insignia of a divine authority, and it establishes that divine authority.
Let's take the word law, brother. Let's take the word law. And in this universe, we've got a certain amount of physics. All right, they may be slightly askew in what they are, but you've still got certain laws within that physics, which is fundamental. So what we're doing is conflating the word law here. When we use the word divine law, we can use the law of motion, in this reality, friction. These things are defined by a state of being. For us to conflate the two and say we need to remove one because it could be perceived as this, it doesn't make any sense. If you boil water at 100 degrees, it will boil. That is the law in this, the thermodynamic law in this physics of this universe. Nobody's disputing whether that should be changed to a different word. So again, I get what you're saying with this, and I get the way we're looking at it, as if the word law has a problem with it. But realistically,
well, I haven't got an issue with the word law.
yeah,
I think the word law is a good word. It's a powerful word. And for all the reasons previously stated, it immediately creates a sense of attention in somebody. I was just addressing again, and you've already addressed this, the definitions with which people will come to that. A lot of people will come to that with the definition or the idea that law immediately means mechanism of governance over them, rather than a state of being that they are participating in. Do you see?
I would suggest on the flip side of that, that lot of people that will come to it haven't come to it yet because they're not ready to see it. And there are those that will be the forerunners of that lot of people, which will be the ones that clear the energetic and the distortions. So when the other lot of people come to see it, they won't have that disconfiguration of the word law or misrepresentation of it. So I get exactly what you're saying, brother, with this. And this is the beauty of talking through these things, because we can come to an agreement and that goes up and is seen in the collective, my friends. So,
yeah, I thought it was worth airing. I thought it might be something.
Absolutely. Before we come back to you, Minette, Sister Jidda has her hand up. So P. Jidda.
Not focus to governance or man-made because of never equal. So focusing to yourself, see to the prosperity and human being is very important. So I would love to add my sister, Minette. She's very beauty. So seeing the blue sky in the universal, she has a beautiful voice. So right now we have GPMS. We don't look only the figure, we don't look only the law, but we share the knowledge from GPMS. Yeah, thank you so much.
Beautiful. Minette, your hand was up again.
Sorry, I just had to go back. I was just like typing something up in chat. So my suggestion is to, let's re-step. Law and legal brings darkness for me. Sorry, that's how it is. If I see that, I see injustice, I see imbalance, I see judgmental, governmental, cabal, whatever names you want to attach to that, that's what I see with it. So definitely that word will call for any other person that has had the impact of crossing paths with law, legality, judgmental from person to person, everything like that. So as that aspect, I would suggest, how about rather saying universal truths? What is the universal truth that we have to stay and abide by? And in that universal truth, it will encompass anything under what laws would in any case roll out. In my opinion, a few years back, I came to the conclusion that there is too many laws and rules in this world because people have to go through so many red tape across the earth on anything that you just want to do. You are actually not even having the breathing space just to live, the breathing space to just be a natural, organic, blueprint citizen of this earth. You don't have that. Because over and around every corner, there is, oh no, you cannot do this. Oh, if you do this, then be careful of this. We are living and creating fear in this world all the time, in all the governments, in every person, in our schools, towards our children. Just think in a house, how are people bringing those fears in towards their children? Oh, laws, let's call it laws or rules. Don't do this. You are not allowed to do this. You can't go out early. You cannot be even developing in a natural way. And I'm sorry that I'm coming up very forceful. That's not my means, but that's how serious I'm feeling about it, because this is something, and I haven't spoken up till this point into the universe too much, because I've been attacked many times, but at the end of the day,
It's beautiful what you're saying. The
um,
passion can be felt in your voice, but we don't relatively, we know this is happening, and it's great to reiterate this, and this is what must stop. But we're talking about the word law as opposed to what has happened, and whether we redefine it to what will be. And I get the other views points on the word law, but when you can look at for instance, anybody that's looked at the law of one, did they think that that was Kabbalistic? And again, there's so many conflations into this, and I believe that we should keep it simple and maybe not redefine words that have got different meanings from different experiences, and just use the word as we would, with a pure intention behind it, because it's preceded by the word divine and natural. But that's my simplification. And I love what you've got to say, Manette. Please, if you feel that you're being forceful, please be more forceful whenever you wish. Beautiful.
May I wish
I
to
also
add,
just listening, sister minded. This is my experience. Just talk. I just listening.
Go on, brother. Please carry on, Rick.
what I just wish to say is I love that expression from Manette, universal truth as well. And also from Mike, when we look at, let's say I wrote down a shared authority, perhaps would be something that I may include or may be included in the simplicity of divine law. But again, the more we try to define something, we create that complexity. And again, that's what we wish to avoid. But I love the universal truth statement, which is important. Thank you.
Divine natural law stroke universal truths. Again, that's putting some words together that they all embody each other, which is awesome. Over to you, Dean.
Just a little one for Manette. After me choosing to take on the system and take myself through that process, when people speak to me in regards to them in that process, I'm very grateful for them being at that point, because I know they're going through an experience of release, a release of the energy. So what fully happened for me was releasing my energy to stand fully as a sovereign soul. So I don't feel sorry for the people going through them experiences. I send them gratitude. And I know from going through that process, they will come out the other side free of their energy, free completely of their energy. So they're just going through their experiences just the same as I chose to. As Brother Lee said to me, I didn't need to, but I chose to. And I'm so grateful. And what was freed was my energy. But many are still not allowing themselves to be free, still holding on to this little story here, this little story there. Every aspect of what law is, they'll find something to hold on to. And it's just choosing not to let go. And they will in time when that soul is ready.
But one of the things we need to be aware of here is that I think as well is the soul experiences that are here, and the designees and different roles that many may have, and many have in the collective experience or the mass experience in humanity. Who are we speaking to with what it is that we are messaging? The ones that know a lot more, the ones that are, let's say, divinely opening up into their roles, or the ones that are going through their human experience. And we can also look at whether or not we're pinpointing into a niche for what will be. I get what will be, so we can define, we can outline that, but we also need to keep the messaging for those that haven't seen any of this too, and that maybe just stepping their first step into something new. So again, this is always a juggling act between levels of consciousness, and we must maintain the highest within the GPMS instrument foundationally. What we speak to and how we speak to it is up to us, but we must remember that the instrument itself cares not. It cares not. It's for what will be, not what was. Beautiful. Brother Rick, your hand's up, my friend.
Thank you, Lee. Just as a topic, if we're off of that, but just as the next topic, or to begin now, what I ask is thoughts on, so on the divine law page, if you will, what I'm feeling and what I wish to do as just some guiding principles to state some of the God creator unalienable rights. But with that, Lee, there was one, that we have several that is on the website. We have identified several of these fundamental God-given rights. But Lee, is there one that we have? It's the freedom of decision and choice. Is it like, can we keep it that simple? Because I believe, I wish the input on this, that one fundamental God-given right is all encompassing and includes all of the others. So could we just keep it that simple?
Let me have a quick look at it, brother. Keep talking before we continue. I'm just I know that I put them together, but I can't remember exactly what it said. Let me have a quick look.
Well, I'd just like to jump in there, because what you just said there, Rick, the first thing that immediately springs to my mind that I would add to what you've just said is the right to freedom of choice and decision. But I would appendix to that, without infringement upon other. That is to say, you're free to make any choice you wish, but there has to be a consideration there that the choices you make aren't going to cause harm or loss to another.
So, brother Mike, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing you right now, but what Rick is talking to, I remember writing, it was the right of moral and ethical choice of self-determination. That's I believe what Rick is talking to, the right to moral and ethical. Now, what's moral and ethical? But choice to self-determination. The choice and self-determination. Of course, this is them in the
that's a much more specific stated moral. Just the fact to say moral and ethical immediately implies that consideration would be given. So
of course, but then also inside of this there are other conjectures, because you can say that morality and ethics do not exist. It does go into another philosophy, but these philosophies and these ways of thinking about them are constructive and deconstructive when they're dismissive. They're nihilistic to these ideas, and they don't need to be, and it's very niche. So again, I'd like not to go into niche areas where things could be, well, this could be seen as this, but nevertheless, it doesn't matter really what we say with this. If we can keep it moral and ethical, which we all know, or innate, choice of self-determination, the right to, is that what you're speaking to, brother Rick? Is that what it's simple, a lot of these things are so simple and they're all encompassing.
It is, and I believe, what Mike was saying and what you were just saying, Lee, what you have written down, which I love, I feel it fully accommodates what I was asking. So, having said this, and as I'm listening and thinking as you're speaking, I also see the full benefit of keeping it open to the individual's interpretation as well as they advance forward on their course of discovery, whatever that may entail with comparing the old legal systems against what this is. And the less we define something, the more simple we keep it, and the less chance for ambiguation and complexity to enter it. Again, we are making this firm divine statement with divine law. So having said that, does that one provision, if you will, of the divine law instrument, that one provisional God-given right, does that encompass the all?
That's open to the floor, guys. That's not for me to
Yeah.
reply to. Anybody can reply to that. The right to moral and ethical, the right to moral and ethical choice of self-determination. Minette.
So yeah, if you say self-determination and morally and ethically, are we looking at just like surviving, or are we looking to grow as well?
This is the thing.
And where does the growth lies? Is the growth in establishing and re-teaching the spiritual laws, the spiritual truths of how the whole creation has been created, by bringing that definitions back into the teaching environment of everyone around us? Then they will like understand and be able to apply those morality that you guys are bringing up all the time, and being inside the law and all these things.
No, we're not defining it. This
I
is
mean,
the
if
point.
people can't even remember what the spiritual laws was and how that was defined, or that truth was, how are they going to try and define it with the old rules and the old set of brainwashing that was done through many ages, 5 cycles for that matter of fact?
You must bear in mind, though, Minette, that we're not trying to define, we're trying to outline. And within that definition, then the people will choose and define within the definitions of, within the outline of, they will define. So whether it's spiritual teachings within one community and it's mechanical teachings and woodworking within the others, it's not for definition right now. So how it's perceived or how it may.
Understand that. I
Yeah.
understand that. Granted you that we're not defining them, but then we are creating and we're all co-creating.
Yeah.
And in the sense of co-creating, we have to set the blueprint of what everyone must be abiding by, or will create a better world forward, or create a better new earth. It will be setting that base. It's setting the foundation that I've already defined. I know that, and I have been working on for the last 10 years. So it is like, but it's to get everyone on board of that. And by going into old guidelines, if we don't want to say defining or laws or legality, if we go by old guidelines, some of that is definitely didn't give us the result of the outcome that we wanted after 5 cycles of 26,000 years. And yes, I agree, we keep it simple, but simplicity comes with understanding as well, and wisdom. And we need to actually acknowledge that we have learned from past times.
I totally agree with you. And what I would suggest again with a lot of this is that the underpinning energetics and intention behind this is that. It's not the definitions and all of what it will move forward with, but it's the base intention, scale, the energetic intent at which this foundational instrument is being agreed upon will carry it through without the distortions of the past. But that's what I would say right now. And we can, of course, we can talk about this and philosophize to it till the cows come home. But and I love what you're saying, and I love all of this discussion. But let's pass this over now. I think it was you, Rick, first. Everybody sees.
So we are all ascended masters, if you will, deep into the metaphysics and the philosophy and what have you. So, you know, this is a basis that is not prevalently seen, perhaps, in the GPMS website vehicle. However, it is there for certain ones that can see it. But for all intents and purposes, the GPMS vehicle is not to educate ones. It is the individual's responsibility for what level they are at. They will be attracted to the vehicle. And during that course, as you know, the individual ascension process occurs as well. So meaning that we do not directly need to educate. This is the vehicle to collect those that are self-educated in their ascension process and take it forward. Although having said that, outside of it, like Lee, Mike, Dean, we all educate and degree and teach certain aspects outside of it. And, you know, with this, it's an evolving instrument as well. And what it's doing is establishing the real unconditional love during this process. And as a result of that, you know, this is also one of the things we're contending with. You know, number two is the many beliefs and levels of beliefs of the planet. But what we are doing is constructing all of those that are in alignment and know essentially that GPMS is the reason that they're here to create the new world. So they become aligned with this. And again, we are looking for the light leaders at uniting them all together as one body, because they are the way showers and the peers that administer this new reality for all humanity. And it doesn't take all of humanity needing to be educated on every aspect with it. So having said that, we only need, if you will, united the light leaders that have the light divine designees that have been placed upon the planet to present that leadership for the people. So I'll stop rambling. Thank
Perfect,
you.
brother. I think I see. So I don't know how much of what my last bit came across. Over to you, Dean. I think.
Yeah, just on that note, what Rick was saying there in regards to souls, every soul is a divine being. Every soul is a god and a goddess. They're just struggling to find that. So we help them to find that love for themselves, which will help them to go inside, which will help them to find that divine being within themselves. Just allow that process. Every time I give it to an individual on the ground when I'm walking, I just let it be. I give it to the soul. I show them the love and I feel their energy. I just feel their energy. And some aren't ready and some are. And some souls just dismiss it, but some don't. So we're not forcing anything, guys. We just allow them to see. Allow them to see it. Their soul will see it, and that soul will carry that information for as long as it needs to happen for them to see it. And Brother Lee just said at the beginning, he just talked about a gentleman at the beginning that didn't see it. He was left to go through his process, came back and said, finally, I can see it.
Yeah, just got all he needed was a slight nudge at the beginning and that was to find GPMS, and then he watched, and that's the beautiful thing. Mike, over to you, brother.
Yeah, just in answer to Rick's question, and also what was said after it as well. So I believe Rick's question was, is the statement of that unalienable right? Could you read it out again for me, Lee?
The right to moral and the right to a moral and ethical choice of self-determination.
Yes. So he asked, is that all encompassing? I would say yes, on an individual level. And again, I'll state one of my biggest philosophical contemplations, is where does the creation of the individual meet with co-creation? What's the boundary line between those two, and at what point does individual creation meet co-creation? And I would say that statement is all encompassing on the individual level, on the individual creative level. But when it comes to the acceptance of a co-creational factor, that there would be a requirement for an agreement that there could potentially be a requirement for an intermediary on certain things.
I disagree slightly with you, brother, because on the point of it is a right of self-determination. Well, you could see a culture as having a self, if you will, and that self-determination, then you choose to align with that culture. We are all inclusive with this. So beliefs and cultures and societal needs and structures will be the self, and others will join that with their own self. So everyone can follow their own path and join with whoever they wish. And there's no reason for an intermediary to...
I understand that, but I can also foresee and anticipate certain exceptions and circumstances where there may potentially be a necessity for some kind of intermediary.
We don't pander to
factor.
exception that we can possibly see.
No, I know we don't pander to it, but it's being open to the. It's being open to the idea that there can potentially be those exceptions, and that they need to be, if not pandered to, acknowledge that they will exist, and to allow for some mechanism that will remediate them.
Why acknowledge something may exist when we haven't got a clue what will exist? What we're trying to do is force something
acknowledging that they do exist now in
Right.
some form of fashion, and that might not necessarily stop happening in the future when GPMS is there. I mean, it might, but at the same time, it might not.
I would suggest it's been acknowledged by this conversation, and we can either agree to continue acknowledging it, or we can agree that we don't know, and that at the time, should it be, there may be an exception at that time, and it will be dealt with very, very easily by the think tank of billions upon the planet,
which is the intermediary aspect.
Yes. But that's not something that there may be many other things that come up that may need an intermediary at the time too, but it's not to be unnecessarily time spent on fixing problems that haven't happened yet. But again, thank you for bringing it up, because I do see it now inside that system, but I'm not so sure it'll happen inside those words. But
Miguel, who am I to interfere with another soul in any way?
It's not about interfering. It's about two individuals with their right to ethical and moral right to self-determination and to make choices. They both want to make a particular choice, but each of those choices clashes with the other's choice. Now, in that instance, in a, should we say, for lack of a better word, civilized society or a civilized setup, they could then both acknowledge, okay, well, we both want to make a choice, but we recognize that each of our individual choices, which we are free to make, that aren't immoral, aren't unethical in any way, but they happen to clash with each other's choice, then they both accept or allow a third party to come in, a wise third party to come in and act as an intermediary to then work to arrive at an equitable solution. But that's the sort of scenario I'm thinking of.
I get what you're saying, brother, but what you're saying is two parties come in with moral and ethical that clash with each other. Can you define those two that would clash? Where the third party?
If you gave me enough time, I probably could. Yeah. If you gave me enough time, I could put together a scenario.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
We are not defining. We are living in peace. So if we go back to the triad, we are working with a pendulum, and the pendulum goes from left to right, and it is to get into the balance of the middle center. When those two parties have to reach the center, it is the accumulative, collective consciousness, which is the middle point, the pendulum that's hanging down, which is setting the rules for balancing it out. And that is from the black to the white, from the in between the grays to a communal collective conscious point of understanding and wisdom. Because why is there a disagreement in the first place? Because people are coming from different points of view, firstly. Secondly, we are brought up in different areas because there are certain laws or regulations or justifications or judgments that is set on the table by government or by a group of other people or between two parties, between a divine masculine and divine feminine. And it is to come to a point of understanding. Again, if that middle way of the collective consciousness, which is, by the way, if one or two are coming together in oneness, like we are here, we are forming the collective consciousness, the source, God, creator, state of blueprint. We are speaking that. So it's to define that. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too high words or getting too much into the spirituality, but that's who I am.
Metaphysics. I talk to metaphysics all the time. I just don't use the spiritual terms too much.
It's okay.
So
That's
the energetics of it is what you're talking to, Minette, and that's what we're speaking to too. We may not speak from the spiritual aspects of this, but believe us, we are speaking to the spiritual, the metaphysical aspect.
And if I can just add on to it, We can never come from one point. The one point of creation, that's where creation started, from the zero void. And that is in the balance again from the pendulum. That is in the void of zero in the collective point. And when you're getting there as a being growth into that point, that is where we co-create from. We also co-create from a point of the key of joy. And literally at this point, we don't have lots of joy on this earth.
No, but
So it is create
just
and
stop you a
set
minute?
attendance of more joy.
I get we're going into an educational phase of what we're trying to explain, and I get that's a beautiful thing to share with others, but it's not really what we're here to do at this point. We can talk to it, but not keep talking to it. We get the co-creational parts and these aspects, but moving forward, we've got to keep this a little bit simpler, and maybe not reiterate those lessons and teachings once they've been iterated a few times in the course of a meeting. Not trying to shut you up, my dear, because I love it, but we can keep this more focused on what we were talking to now going forward, if we could. Over to you, Brother Rick.
Thank you, Lee. So, the main obstacle, let's say, for humanity, the main obstacle for them to fully practicing and integrating their morals in their ethics, the obstacle to that is the system, the old capitalistic system, what is breaking down. So having said this, during this great process, many are going back into their conscientious morality, to their conscience and their ethics. And an example of this is with police leaving the police force worldwide. They are making the choice. And it's important that I say this, because, what's occurring with the GPMS world is then you have everyone, to the degree that has gone through the process, that recognizes and has restored again the innate morality and ethics of the state of being. So this is being, like Lee would say, organically done, as we go forward. So I wanted to bring that up. There was another point I was going to put with it, but I won't ramble on that.
That's all right, brother.
I'll leave it there.
Over to you, Wanderer. Good to see you, my friend. How's things down there, or over there in Uganda?
Well, things are moving quite well as per now. I could say things are quite good, and hope I'm heard very well. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, my friend. Yes, my friend, we can hear you.
Okay, that is beautiful. And just to start by is, I appreciate the fact that we are discussing very beautiful information on how we are seeing GPMS. But my question would be to you, all of you, that are we actually defining or discussing this basing on our personal view as us, that at least understand what GPMS means, or we are discussing this in a view of what the public is saying or the people we are reaching up to? So yeah, by saying this, ideally mean that at least with us that are discussing this GPMS here, we know some good information, and this wouldn't be actually a matter of, defining most of the things, but ideally believe it should be something based on the view of the public, the people we are reaching up to. How are they viewing GPMS? Because I see by the discussion we are having is that we are all, discussing GPMS according to our personal view. So I ideally believe that this should be based on the public we are reaching to. Like, when you go to the public, what is the response of the public in the view to what we are discussing? And
right. Brother, let me answer that quickly now, and I would suggest that this would be close to. I'd ask for Brother Rick to say the same thing. What we're discussing in this room is what we see and how we feel about what we notice in the public and how they've received the message from what is based on the website. But what the website will actually refine this discussion and other discussions on this too is an instrument for the future, not what the public thinks now. The website is not going to be based on public perception of what could be or what is, or defined by the public's opinion, which is based on lies and fiction and fear. So the website is not going to be based on lies, fiction, and fear and trying to dispel that. The purity of these conversations, where we can see what's happening, refines into the website, and the purity of intention behind that is encoded energetically into the website with no fear and none of the lies and obfuscations that were. So the website is constructed for what will be and not from what was, but not containing what was. We are just discussing what was, but the website will contain what will be. Does that answer you, brother? And if anybody would like to answer that, please do. It's not just, please do. If anybody would like to add to what Wanda has just asked from their opinion.
Okay, fine. If there is no one to add on to that, then the other thing that I would say, one of the brother here was, I don't recall the name very well, but he was discussing on the term law. And according to my perspective and according to people in Uganda, basically the way they view the word law, as one of the sisters just said here, is when they just get to hear something, a term called law, they really, what comes into their minds is being judgmental, something that does not support any decision from any other person. And with me, as I'm reaching up to people, I don't usually use the word divine law. I basically use divine plan.
Beautiful, brother. And that's the way you describe it to your people, because they've got that fear in them of the word law. And I think that what we're coming from this is that maybe using the word divine natural law or universal truth in the website keeps it pure and doesn't necessarily dip into the fear aspects. It just makes it easier for us and wants to explain that to for others to see it. So universal truths may well be the refinement process to make this easier for others to see. We'll see. Again, beautiful for what you're saying.
Just on that note, Wanderer, every person you speak to, it's different. Every person has a different struggle within themselves, a different story, a different outlook. Some people struggle with divine, some people just struggle with the word law. I met a German lady yesterday that struggles with the picture of a globe. Everybody has different stories that they struggle to let go of, Wanderer. Every person you come to is different. You just have to define and sit with that person a little bit more in a space of love, and read their energy a little bit. Try and feel where their blockages would be, but still give the truth, your highest truth, but come from a place of love. From where they're struggling from seems to be a little bit more in coherence with a better way of doing it for myself. But like Lee would say, always from that highest truth.
Over to you.
Definitely.
Oh, no. But I wonder, does that, again, brother, I have empathy for you in exactly what you're saying, and what Brother Dean has just said there is absolutely right. Everybody will does something different. If they're looking for something to find fault with, they will, and if they're looking for somewhere to show their fear, they'll find it. We can see past that, and we can help them to see past that should they wish. But the website need to do that.
Let's say, yeah. Wanderer, we're taking them to the highest point of their divineness. So the website needs to be at that highest point, and that's what we're trying to defy at this moment. So that soul will get to that point within themselves, instead of us trying to walk them into it.
I get what you're saying as well, brother. Is that you'd like the website to reflect the fears in the people more easily, so the fears in the people aren't reflected at you. I get that. And it's not going to happen, my friend. This is part of this role of breaking through the distortions in the fear-based elements in the perceptions and perspectives of those brothers and sisters you may speak to who are not holding the value within them for them to see easily. But the website won't give them the value that they have to encompass and embody that value themselves. And this is what we're talking to on what Dean's saying by reflecting the highest. It's what it will reflect. Whether others don't see that or not, that's up to them. And we can then just plant the seeds, show them where they may be seeing fear-based narratives within themselves and let them be. Numbers and quantity isn't the issue here. If many don't get your message, but 2 do, that was the right time for those 2 and not the right time for the others, my friend.
Yeah, definitely, brother. I understand the divine timing, and I really appreciate that. And just maybe to say what may not be aligned with what we are saying, it is just a challenge that I'm facing for now in Uganda. You know, recently there is a law which was passed by one of the biggest churches in the Western world, which is concerning homosexuality. Yeah, the one of the biggest churches in the Western world actually went ahead and, you know, allowed the different brothers and sisters, these so-called bishops, to go ahead and, you know, accept man and man, women and women to go ahead with marriage, which is something that has caused, you know, internal in Uganda. But now when you go to people and, you know, you like, as before, I remember saying to you brothers, I at first sent letters to different schools to actually allow me go and speak about GPMS, and even go to different other institutions to speak about GPMS. But this has come to be a challenge because of the recent law that was passed by one of the biggest churches in the Western world that accepted different go ahead of man and homosexuality. So now it is a challenge when you go ahead to different schools and you want them to authorize you come and speak about GPMS. Some other people who may not see that clearly or easily may align that with you being supporting homosexuality.
Right, can I just
So
stop
as
you?
well,
Brother? Can I just stop you, brother, because this is going a little bit off track and off kilter for what GPMS is. But what I would like to say to you, certainly in this meeting, but what I'd like to say to you is no judge assigned any law. They assigned a legal statute, an act of the governmental control system. That is not a law. It will only be enforced by the legal arm of the existing legal structure. These things are for the people to wake up to realize that there is no law. There is simply acts done that are completely inhumane and uncivil by some people who are sat there with a nefarious aspect within them, and the people will rise up above this. It is not something we deal with, and I get that you are maybe struggling, but you must stand above this and tell people it is not a law. This is an act of Parliament. You can say that they can call it whatever they wish, but it is not law. It is not in line with law. We should not be using the term law. We should not be pandering to these ideas of law, because they are not, and they have no control over you. Now, if your people wish to feel that they are beneath that legal system, then that is up to them, because they are not carrying the value that they should. And I beg you, please, brother, to give them the value and tell them that this legal structure has no authority above them. They are their own authority, and this is what we should be speaking to. But I understand your concerns right now, my friend. I've just got to hand over to Rick, and I'll be back in about a minute, guys. So please continue.
Thank you, Lee. Wanderer, you know, what you're experiencing there is a blatant example of artificial law, man-made law. It is not natural. So having said this, it's also, as Lee, but what I wish to say with any law, a law cannot exist unless it's supported by the majority of the people worldwide, which thus is the ratification, which is what GPMS is doing to bring in the new world. So having said this, again, it becomes the individual's choice to comply with such a restrictive law or not. But in this great time, we have the GPMS choice. And as Lee is saying, everyone should know that you have the choice. It cannot be taken from you. And also with this judge, what you said, he has no jurisdiction. And very quickly, the reason he has no jurisdiction is because he is in a complete conflict of interest. He is not impartial because he is being paid by the system or the state, once again, to attempt to inflict and impose artificial law upon the people. And then we go back to the basis of a divine law, and I'll use Manette's term, universal truth, if you will. Once we go back to the basis of that, which is the premise and the basis of absolute law of what GPMS is, there becomes no contest with that judge or any judge that is being paid because of a conflict of interest to impose and attempt to pass that judgment onto others. So again, very simply, worldwide, what is occurring as more and more become to realize that the existing system is unjust, and it also has an underlying ill intent to impose and to condition and conform people. So as more and more are realizing this, they are uniting outside of the system. And with this worldwide, this is why we have so many groups in their own way that are trying to write their way out of the old system. And for example, there's one that has written up, a divine GPMS comrade has shared with me a 300, I think, page constitution, but that is not the way. But you see, as an example, where so many are feverishly trying to write their way out of the system. And during the course of that, this is also why GPMS is here, the divine simplified vehicle that delivers them and frees them totally from that evil system. But again, it's a course of all of these groups and individually at learning through a trial and error process very quickly what does not work. And the more they delve into trying this, they see the dynamics, the internal dynamics of how it is fraudulent at its core and how it's unjust and how it is designed to inflict harm and misery. So having said this, this is one of the reasons why this great lawful, divine lawful topic has been brought up today, so we collaborate as a group, and whatever you can use from this, we are all speaking truth here, and you can use this whatever you wish in your individual presentations. However, also, there is also the planetary urgency aspect, that ones need to do something for without finding the direction, the more they are becoming inundated, with inflation restrictions or what have you. But this is also divinely orchestrated so that once they have, let's say, no other choice, they have gone through the processes of trying everything and nothing works, then they are at the point of surrender that they do see GPMS and what it is, and that it is the absolute deliverance, if you will. So again, each one presented in your own way, and simply GPMS, what is contained upon the website is the plan, it is the strategy, it is the direction, it is the end goal that lifts all boats. So it's all inclusive, it's all complete with it. So I'll stop there, Lee. You may have something.
No. I think we've delved into that. Wanderer, brother, I know it's a challenge, my friend. We've got this. We just remain in our highest, brother. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I'd like to pass this over now to Anne, who's had her hand up for a while. Thank you so much, Anne. Anne Elizabeth, sorry. You need to unmute, my dear. Unmute. Press the unmute. You're still muted. No, you're still muted.
Mute, okay.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I'm in Sweden today. We arrived from Denmark yesterday. I just wanted to give you quite good news from Denmark on Friday, where we ended up in front of the Russian embassy for some reason. Suddenly the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister of Denmark was just in front of me. So I started to talk with the Foreign Minister, asking what was happening. And well, of course, they are trying to raise for the war and Putin is the bad guy. And I said, well, I represent Norway today. And I met you before, so it was nice to meet you again. Are you his lifeguard? And he was smiling and saying hello. Then the press representative from the Russian embassy was standing and I said, you're a lifeguard too? No, I'm just representing the Russian embassy. Okay. And I said, well, I'm feeling very bad for being Scandinavian today because we are the worst to raise hate in this world. We are Vikings, but I guess we are sleeping. And I just want to tell you that I do not follow your laws. I represent the divine law, and I want to say and ask you, please, to stop this hatred, because you try to make people hate each other instead of making peace and love. Yeah, I can hear you. And I said to the Foreign Minister, you are a friend of Jens Stoltenberg, who is the leader or General Secretary of NATO. I feel very bad for you if you join him, because Norway, especially Sweden and Denmark, are really raising for hate. We are behind a very nice facade. We are so happy to live in such beautiful countries, and everybody in this world think we are living in peace and harmony, and there is just a lot of bad vibrations, and I cannot stand out to see this. Yeah, the minister said, I think Jens Stoltenberg is a very good man. And I said, okay, so you are on his side, then are you also a bad man then? And then suddenly somebody took my arm, and it was, of course, the police. And I said, I'm just talking to the foreign minister of Denmark. I'm Norwegian, so why do you grab my hand? Do not touch me. You have been breaking my arms before in November, so I'm fed up of being grabbed by police officers. You are here for the people, even if you don't know it. But they say, you are going to number 4. And I said, what is number 4? I started to laugh. What is number 4? Is it a ghetto place that I should go to? Yeah, you're not allowed to be here. And then a Ukrainian woman said, what are you doing here? You're not allowed to be here. It's our demonstration. I said, I'm not here for any demonstration. I'm not demonstrating. I'm just asking what is happening. And then it was only 10 officers who pushed me to number 4. It was actually number 4 in that street. And then they put a police barrier around me. The funny thing was that it was a man standing there. And actually he was a homeless person from Russia. And he said, they have taken my passport and everything. I can't go anywhere. And I started to talk with him. He got my phone number before another 10 police officers grabbed me to take me to number 6. So it started to be a bit funny, but I ended outside all the police barriers, continuing to speak to the police officers and said, we are here for peace and love. And suddenly somebody gave me a Russian and a Ukrainian flag. And I said, okay, why? Well, because you are fighting for peace and love. So we give you the 2 flags and try to talk with the authorities. So we were standing there, and the police officers were like, ooh, standing like a barrier, and I could talk with them. And I said, you should be here for the people. I was grown up by police officers, militaries, and what are the name, Dean, what's the name of these Freemasons? And I've always, yeah, Freemasons. So I would just want to tell you, I'm here with the military, ex-police, military and police officers. And we all fight for freedom. We all fight for love. We want this world to be a good place. And we have always, love has, and will always win. We have already won over the bad and the satanic things. The foreign minister is here, the prime minister is here. They are talking about we need the war to get freedom, and it's a lie.
I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to. It's
No,
a beautiful story.
it's fine. Just stop me. You know, when I start to talk, it doesn't stop. So fine.
No. What I'm trying to say is, where's this aligned to GPMS apart from the experience?
Yeah, no. What I wanted to say is that a lot of those people, also the ex-militaries, are now into GPMS. And Høgni, who has been the best light worker in Denmark for years, I've known him for 3 years. They are all into reading about GPMS because they find it so fantastic. And they say, well, that is the, can you remember when you made me read about it, Dean, in October? Wow, this is so easy. This is really low. Wow, this is what we have been waiting for. And Martin, who is with me, is in common law. Well, he will go over to GPMS. Vivian, who is the leader in Norway from common law, is reading about GPMS. So I just want to say the light is starting to be bright also in Scandinavia. And we are going to Norway tomorrow. So we will continue there, and the Danish people will also join us in Norway to try and spread love and light.
Thank you so much.
That's more or less what I wanted to say. So it's possible. Just follow universe and what they tell you to do. Just go where you are told to go, and you meet people that need to hear and listen.
Thank you.
That was it. I'm tired today, but I'm back with my wolves. And I'm happy. I'm very happy.
I love the energy, and I love what you're sharing with people and the energetic that you're going to share with them and the impact that will have upon them, and it ripples out. So thank you so much, beautiful sister. Now I know that who was next? I think it was, I'm not sure if it was Dean or Beatrice. I think it was Beatrice.
Yeah, I just want to say my ex-husband, I'm within that house now. He will join GPMS. He has been working for the security police in Sweden for 23 years. I didn't even know it. But now, like he said, you have enlightened me and I will join you like I promised to, like 15 years ago. I'm ready now. So I'm very happy. It's a big love and light. I have my 2 wolves telling people walking in the forest here to go away. But they are also joining us. And I just want to spread this love and light to all of you. I love you guys. I'm so happy to have met you.
Thank you so much. Beatrice?
Yeah, so hello to everyone. I'm here also today with Petrica Picui, that he does not speak English, but he speaks Romanian and Italian. We were working for a couple of years on autonomy. And practically we come with a background like speaking with the people face to face, and also keeping online discussion and everything. And what I hear today and also in other days about the law, I do agree with everybody, but at the same time, the people perception and the span attention, they are not, if we go towards the philosophy too much, they will be not able to see exactly what it is the point. And practically we are here also to gather the vote, and we need a lot of people involved. So in order for them to see everything that we tested until now, so maybe since 2023, the people may answer in another way. but until 2023, February 2023, the people still answer to the question practically. They want to understand who will have the decision. Will be still those in power like above them that will make the choice for them, or will be practically they can participate, because here it's also confusion with the participation to the collective decision, because they believe, many of them, they believe at this time that supported the political party, they participate to the collective decision. So they are not able to see there the point. So this is the reason that I started to speak about the pyramid and everything to reverse the pyramid. Then minimum for the visual learners, they started to see much more. So I do agree with universal truth. I believe that many people may answer on this way, but at the same time, speaking also in inserting also divine natural law, I do not believe that will frustrate many. I believe that at this time, when the people just started to know that the man-made laws are not working for them, started to show up practically the divine natural laws, started to show something that will be working for them on this direction, they may answer. Because by the end, how can I say, it does not matter if we bring up a website that it's extremely beautiful, it's perfect in wording, it's amazing on all understanding, but only few of the people may understand that. We are here practically also for the vote, for the collective vote. And when we are speaking about billion of people that they have to vote, the message should be to their level of understanding, and their level of understanding started to be a little bit towards the universal law, divine law. So they started a little bit to detach and to understand that they were captured inside of man-made laws. So I'm not here to transform a definition or to get, it's just an insight that we work for years on this situation, and we met a lot of people like Townsend, and we collaborate every day with the people. And unfortunately, the span attention is extremely short, and the people that have right now, they have also a lot of confusion between the groups, because many groups are writing constitution, are doing a lot of stuff that all of them, they use words as for the people. Then the people are mixed right now between which one is the good one, which one is for me, why the other one is not good. So only maybe to the Canada level, we have some hundreds of groups at this time that they work on all solution. So right now we try for years to make the people to see that practically these man-made laws are keeping them inside of a pyramid system and everything. And this seems to match with many of them from the first minute or the second minute, because they are saying, okay, you are speaking here about what? So finally, and I'm telling them, you have not a decision inside of this system. There is a lot of corruption. And when you vote only once to 3-4 years or something like for a change, and there you give the power to the other. So, and they practically, they want to have the decision on their hand, then this institution that put pressure over them cannot come tomorrow and impose them something. And so this is the reason that I tested in a couple of 50 people, 100 people, how they answer. The best answer until now, it's practically towards the autonomy system where all the people will be the final decision makers. So they answer on this way, unfortunately. And if they will do, if many of them, they will see no law there, they will be not able to see how the society, how the all the people, billion of people to the level to the earth, what they will be doing. So how they will manifest, what will happen. So it's very easy for someone that has a good understanding, as Miguel has, but to speak, and he will be really catch and quickly catch inside of GPMS. But for another individual that all the time he follow the system, it's extremely hard to see. So this is the reason that we should come with something simple. And unfortunately to say, I want to say also, as Jidarat said all the time, we are here also for our children. But when we are speaking to a child, and we approach the divine and universal, these are the words that catch the child, and it's working very well. But when we are speaking to the level of the adult, that they come from inside of the pyramid system, practically everything that they need to do, if they have the decision by themselves or not, and there is something where they can read more, like explanation. So when we make the reference to a divine natural law that they still may hear before a little bit, or we can give them some references on the internet. So this is more something that they will be guided in. But if we are speaking about universal truth, many of them, they will be not able to see what we are speaking about. So this is my input. And so practically working to the individual level after that, in all this explanation, I do not know how we can gather a lot of votes in enough short time if we do not insert in the website something that can catch the people in 2023. So if the people advance quickly in 1 year and the divine, the word law will be not there and the people vote gather, just amazing. But at this time, I am not so sure if the word law will disappear, that the people reaction will be there. I'm not so sure because we speak with adults and they have also, many of them, the vote of their children. So here we have the vote, the general vote will be like 50%, where the children will be maybe 20, 25%. But some of them, they resonate because they have also an age like 14 or 15 years old. But some of them, they are too dependent on their parents because they are very young. So there we need to capture the vote of the adults still. We are dependent on doing that. We cannot surpass that. So this is the adult that has to understand. And universal truth, it's extremely general that practically they will be not able to catch what it is about. So this is all about. And it's a lot of information at this time. To the internet and inside of the freedom movement, it's a lot of information that everybody believes that they have a solution. And this is, I was forced to say that the autonomy is only one solution because everybody believes that they have solution and they do not realize that this cannot work on to the planet level, their solution, but they insist. And the people are lost on solution, what it is. Universal truth, yes. But if you come also with divine natural law, the understanding may be better at this time in 2023. I do not know how the people will advance in 1 year.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful, beautiful. And again, talking points. What we're doing is talking around the problems, through them, and seeing we haven't, nothing's been pinned. The beauty is with this, there is nothing pinned to the change of the divine law. It may stay exactly as it was on the website, or is on the website as it is, just in a different layout. As we said before, we will see. So all of these discussions move towards that refinement, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Dean,
just a little bit, because we have also Petrica Picui that I wanted to come with him here. Petrica, are you around the microphone? Petrica Picui?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, so it's just a little bit, I need to translate a little bit. Deci, Petrica, de ce vorbesc de adevăr universal și problema în care se pune este că eu am insistat pentru a se pune și legea în interiorul website-ului, practic să vorbim despre cine are decizia, că poporul are decizia. Deci, în acest sens, ce ai putea să ne spui despre asta? Și aș traduce imediat.
Din punctul meu de vedere, ar fi foarte bine ca informația să fie cât mai completă, pentru ca oamenii să înțeleagă de unde se pleacă, ce drum trebuie parcurs și care este țelul final. Și până la urmă să aibă fiecare o idee clară de felul în care ar putea să participe.
Okay, so practically his opinion is that we should include how much information as possible for everybody to understand, but at the same time keeping simple. And practically he's saying that to see that everybody can participate, and so practically it's on the same direction with what I said.
Beautiful, beautiful. And again, as we keep going through this, these discussions are so important, and the inputs and the contribution and the intentions. This is the base intention, is to get the information across. And guess what, guys? Through the energetics of these conversations, we are impacting the consciousness hugely. So that we are clearing distortions through these conversations as well. So thank you so much. Dean.
Deci, Petrica, mai doresc să mai adaugi altceva?
Aș vrea să punctez un pic, era vorba despre, nu știu dacă poate n-am înțeles eu bine cum ai introdus tu, era vorba de ce am propus eu, este ca în afara faptului că totul trebuie să fie simplu, trebuie să fie de așa natură pus pe site încât fiecare să înțeleagă cum și în ce fel poate să participe. Pentru că este una când îi spui cuiva, domnule, știi, facem una, facem alta, dar în momentul în care fiecare înțelege și trebuie să participe, este cu totul altceva. Aș puncta foarte mult pe aspectul ăsta, dacă se poate.
So practically what he is bringing you here, and it's a very valid point, because I know that we had this discussion many times. It's not only to keep the message simple, but it is also to show up to the people how they can participate inside of the society, inside of the Earth society that is created, because they are not able to see how they can participate. So practically all the people are saying, okay, so we do agree that we do not need this government at this time, and we do not need this pyramid system and everything that happens today. But how can I participate inside of the new society that you described? So practically what I will be doing there, because it's not clear for the people. So maybe this should come also on the way of describing administration or council or committee, exactly what you will have. So practically, Patrica Picu is saying, show up to the people exactly where they will be, like inside of the system. So there will be a participation on what, inside of administration, or exactly what they will be doing there and how.
Okay,
the process.
That won't be carried on the website. I can pretty much tell you that now, because what you're talking to then is defining what social and cultural structures will be in place and how that will work and what people will do, and that's not what the website does. But what will happen is, what we can talk to with this is that the administrations, once enough people in each country have joined together with that purity of intention to make that change, then they will be the councils for those countries, and they will then define themselves within GPMS, within the instrument, as to how the roles will be played out. So what you're talking to here is an inevitable step, but it won't be defined on the website, because otherwise we'll be setting, if you try to define roles and how things will be on that site, it doesn't stop. So it can only be an outline instrument at this stage. But what will happen is, as more join, they'll become more aligned to the administrations which will be created within each country. So for instance, there's an administration in Thailand, and people will go to the administration in Thailand to find out what they can do within that administration and within their culture. And that does not need to be defined on the website. It will happen organically within each country as those within the country step up and start to join and start to create that orbiting structure, which will be those new administrations. It's very difficult to, I can hear what you're saying, and we could write it all out as much as we can, and it would be thousands of pages long to try to define exactly where everybody would sit. Or we can allow people to do what they will naturally do when they realize that they are free and they are taking and standing in their own authority and power, which is exactly what this is about. So we're talking again here to the structure of it, the mechanics of it, and it won't be defined. It will be defined by the people within it. That's what I would suggest. It's not, I'm not going to say that I put that in as if I've got authority to say it won't be in there, but I'm pretty certain that will be the case.
Yeah, you just a little bit to translate. Deci Petrica a spus că practic acest lucru trebuie să vină de la sine, de la oameni, pentru că dacă ei pun în website, deja introduc oamenii într-o structură și oamenii nu mai sunt liberi ca să aleagă.
Da, sunt foarte de
Deci
acord.
Deci asta este mai mult din punct de vedere pe educație pe video. Deci îi spun asta pe educație pe video. În momentul în care lumea se adună, atunci ei pot să înceapă să colaboreze și să vadă cum se vor organiza la nivel de țară. Deci ei tot ce fac, practic, dau jos piramida și acest sistem care există acum și înlocuiesc cu legea divină.
Noi, în momentul în care propunem dărâmarea piramidei, trebuie obligatoriu să avem automat ceva, măcar din punct de vedere, trebuie să avem niște principii clare pe baza căreia se va crea noua lume, va schimba lumea aceasta piramidală, din sistemul piramidal. Așadar, noi nu trebuie să băgăm automat niște reguli fixe, ci doar niște principii conform cum sunt cele din decalog, să zicem, cele 10 porunci. Și atunci oamenii știu, asta nu-i voie să facem, asta nu-i voie să facem, asta nu-i voie să facem. În schimb, schimbăm ceea ce nu era bun până acum cu lucrurile asta și cealaltă, care sunt utile tuturor și fiecare trebuie să-și aleagă normal în țara lui, conform obiceiurilor, conform uzanțelor, ceea ce consideră ei că este mai util, mai favorabil, mai echitabil și mai folositor pentru poporul lor. Pe urmă, bineînțeles, se va ajunge încet, în timp, la un acord internațional care să ducă aceste principii la o comuniune de idei, astfel încât, indiferent unde te duci, să nu trebuiască să fii stresat că încalci legea. Pentru că legea va fi până la urmă aceeași pe toată planeta. Dar inițial e normal, așa cum a spus domnul Ric, dacă nu mă știu, nu?
Da. Deci, practically, Petrica Picui still he insists to have more details. Maybe this may enter also on the definition or on some explanation in order for the word to not be lost and to know a little bit if even that we will be not saying how the administration will function or the practically the committee will function or something like, but just let them know a little bit what it is about, a little bit more description, because if not, the people are completely lost. And in this way, they will be able to understand on their area where they are now. For example, some still believe that they are inside of countries. They will be able to understand that this can function on their countries. Then they will approach from their culture, and from there, they will be able to see how they can organize inside. But they still need some it's not a structure in place. How can I say some directives, some principles, something to insert them in a context that this should be a little bit on this way. Do not let very, very general, because if we let very general, they will be not able to see, and practically they can miss the solution because they cannot see the content.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, and my answer to that is simple. We've spoken to this many, many times about there is a system there that most people have no idea as to how it runs. It just runs and controls them. It has authority over them and it controls them as it is. They've got no idea. And all of a sudden, what we're saying is we're offering a new solution and they want to know exactly how it's going to work. This is the kind of fear that comes into this. And I get the simply what we're trying to say is let's make the website as simple as for others to see. But what the simple thing is, we've said the existing structures are already there. Everything works for everybody. It's just changing the people. That's you know, you've got government, you change the name to administration, you change all the people within it, and within 5 years they've forgotten it's government, and now it's administering to the people. Now, what roles do each play? Well, again, I get what you're trying to say, brother Rick. Please see what you can come in and say.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. Number one, GPMS was formed as a result of exploring and entertaining all of the solutions and problems. So GPMS is the end result of this, meaning that behind and prior to GPMS, there is a huge compilation of knowledge with it. This is the founding principles of it. By exploring and observing and watching what did not work in the world, GPMS is the result of what will work. It is the ultimate solution. And having said this, this is as simple as it is. Now, for the most part, this information that came before GPMS, it's not written in the GPMS website. However, it has been written over the internet. I'm one of the educators of this as well when I need to be. Now, for Patrice, you know, we have, and for everyone, we have the GPMS website. But we also have, which is so importantly, and I'll emphasize this, we have all of the individual GPMS Telegram country groups. And it's been set up because these country groups is where everyone is together, the leaders and what have you. And through these groups, it is also the venues where writings from Lee, and others that we can share within these groups as an educational tool and a supporting and substantiating background to GPMS as well. And, you know, I love to use for any that's attempting to, you know, get a constitution for an individual country. The Serbia is the great example why it doesn't work. But this also substantiates why GPMS is universal. And the reason why GPMS is the most powerful lawful structure is because it is collecting the agreements worldwide outside of any country boundaries. And what you are creating is a universal voice that is ratifying, coming together, putting their agreements all together to create a lawful accord that is supported by the majority. And what the accord is coming together to create the money with the fundamental principles also of declare divine law. So again, GPMS is a result of all of the trials and errors that came before that would not work. So again, the only solution is getting everyone together worldwide as one voice. And then we simply create the new reality. Nothing can go against a majority agreement worldwide. This is the power of the people. So again, when ones are focusing on constitutions, barter systems, you know, these things are okay with a barter system as a temporary thing to get you by. But everyone's focus needs to be on the GPMS vehicle, for it is the one thing that fixes everyone's problem. You cannot have barter systems within the existing system because the worldwide networks of governments are the ones, they are the problem. They are controlling inside the system. So if you have a barter system in here, eventually it's going to be attacked. So
brother,
what we have set up.
Slightly sideways, brother. Go. If you can bring it back to defining roles and positions and administrations as it comes in and having that on the website.
Yes. And so what we see when you, so we have the GPMS country team set up for ones to migrate in. And this is where organically in each country, your administration teams are developed organically. And they are also given the information that they need to give to the people. And also they are educated more or less there. We use Thailand as that example, as what Lee is saying. Thailand is already ready. And the result of them getting ready was to make their online groups that brought 77 regions of Thailand together as one united voice, if you will, and also with that one direction. So every country, every region needs to have their leaders in these GPMS Telegram groups, which are connected to the mother GPMS group. Then we comprise this unity, and all education is circulated to all of the groups.
It's perfect. I mean, this is what we're trying to say, Beatrice, and I know I can see exactly what it is you're saying, and why can't this be outlined? Because it panders to a problem. And GPM, the one way of seeing it, and I've tried to say this before, and I see it like this: is GPMS is a newborn baby. And what we're talking to here is it's describing why it can't do things and what things must be. It doesn't care. It's not about how it's going to work. It's the outline of it will. Now, as the individuals for each country and the representatives for each country step up, like Jitterat, like Sister Jitterat, most of the stuff that we're talking to Telegram here with Rick, but most of the stuff that Jitter has done is not on Telegram, because a lot of the people in Thailand are not able to get on Telegram. So it could be via landline, phone calls, or WhatsApp. It's whatever the country, whatever's needed inside that country to disseminate the information has been done by the administrator of the country, not because GPMS had it on their website as to what to do, but because it was the right thing to do. And this is the difference. People can't be told what is the right thing to do in this organic process of them empowering themselves. And that's why GPMS can't carry it. But what it can do is empower enough for those to stand up and say, right, what is it I will do? And there's the self-value that is grown through the lack of information. It's the other way of seeing it. Again, we're trying to empower others by not telling them what they do or what they should do or what their roles will be. Whenever one asks me what's my role, my first answer is whatever you want it to be. What do you want to do? So I'm not going to define it for them. It's, whatever that will be. And it's got to be the same, I think, carrying through to keep that energetic foundation for all of them self-powering, self-value, self-empowerment. And what you do inside your social and cultural structures is for you, not to be defined by others. Otherwise, we're going to be manipulated back into the same system in the future, because the foundation of it was designed on telling ones what they should do or what we could perceive. It's very, this is the point between the two. It's I can see what you're saying. Can you see what I am?
Yes, so practically, I don't understand very well what you are saying. I'm just telling you what it is the result when we try to communicate directly with the people, because their understanding after a life inside of a pyramid system where they have even not the power of the decision. Imagine how long it takes to go towards GPMS on this way that the website will describe. So the actual website, it's already giving this information. I was able to find this information that the people resonated with. I do not know how this will be changed in the future, but just my opinion, it is that should be a little bit more content that somehow will describe this kind of where they are going, because the universal truth, it's extremely general for them, and only universal truth, if for me it's working, for another individual, he will put a lot of question and he will say, okay, I'm here practically also to make a solution to work for tomorrow. There is no solution for tomorrow, but they are not able to understand that. But minimum, if we come with divine natural law, even that the word law is not the place to be there, minimum we can make them the reference somewhere or somehow that they will be able to understand. So I do not know, maybe it is the time to gather more speakers, and when maybe more speakers are speaking on their ways, people reaction will be different, because they will find the speaker to follow in order to understand what happens.
Yes, and that's inevitable too.
Can I say something?
Yeah, who's that? Minette. Of course, I was waiting for Dean, but yeah, of course, please do.
Seeing that I did introduce the words universal truths, I just want to define what universal truths in such a guideline on what universal truths can be. If we look at 10 points, it can be something like generosity. a broader view of how generosity will be viewed in each country. Love, how will that be defined, explained or understand? How would wisdom be understand? How would Trinity be understand? How would harmony be understand? What is quintessentience? That's for the four elementals in this universe. Sensitivity, chakra, how our chakras works along with all this collective consciousness, and how would we apply that in our certain countries or into law, creating a universal or governmental understanding, or whatever structure you want to put into your country, like in Thailand, your dharma and your ascension. I mean, this is just 10 points, but I mean, this is what a universal truth would look like. It is not like definition law of going to court, and that's why I brought up that law and legality is not maybe a good word, because the association in people's mind and hearts is definitely too much of a negative, and we want to come to a point of harmony and grace. And so there is a lot of different types of, and how we like just a universal truth. It is not like a, but it is more than just like stating people have to go. And I understand what they are saying, because in the beginning, GPMS purely was for me, no, I didn't even want to get involved, even though I was able to, and I understand, and I come with a long
I think the signal,
way. I've
Is it my
come
cannot
through
internet?
this
hear.
ascension process.
Like the signal cannot hear.
I think it's mine.
Signal's not good.
Is it? Yes, I mean, that signals
I
breaking up.
can't hear.
Can you hear me all right, Dean? Can you hear me at the moment? Okay. Or is it?
Very
Exactly, mate.
long way. With one.
Yeah, so it's just a little bit, I am not here to say that universal truth has to be or not to be. I'm not here to say that divine natural law has to be or not to be. I'm here only to say we have to gather vote. We have to pass through all these adults that they know or whatever they know. And the most important is the reaction and how the people react in 2023. Because in 2024, we may change the website, or by the end of the 2023, if the people come so high to the universal truth. But at this time, I'm not so sure, and practically I believe that they are not on this direction to be able to understand from the first time the universal truth. And we should add more, like, so this was my point. I'm not here to say that what Minette is saying is not good. It's perfect, but the people are not prepared to be there to understand from this perspective. This is all about.
Can I speak, guys? Okay. So just on that note, Beatrice, and on the note I was trying to speak to originally with Wanderer. Wanderer, when you go into these places, mate, and you speak to people, just speak with love, brother. Just hold space of love. They will resonate with you when they're ready. On this note, Beatrice, to what you're speaking to, there's a divine plan, sister. Every single soul, I am grateful to where every single soul is right now, where all them souls are. There is no suffering going on. The only suffering that's going on is the individual suffering that they're creating for themselves. That's it. They're going through a process. Consciously, they're going to expand, and they're going to take accountability of themselves, as we have, as I have, as many have. I don't have to concern myself with other people and the outside world and the exterior to me. And if I am concerning myself with that, what am I avoiding inside myself? You asked before, what can I do for the collective? Be, sit, heal. The more we sit, the more we heal, the more it affects the entire consciousness of the planet. Fighting or behaving in that way is just fighting self. So I ask people, if you are still looking external of yourself, what are we avoiding inside ourselves? The consciousness will only shift once you sit inside ourselves. We don't have to externalize it. It's a divine plan. It's all going to be. Beatrice, all I'm hearing is fear. I'm being honest. Fear. That's what I'm hearing. Oh, this is going to happen here. What about everybody else? What about this? What about you?
Yes, but
what about me?
Yes, Dan, but the divine plan is practically the last step that humanity can reach. This is the divine plan.
Which is out of our control. So why do we keep trying to control it?
Yeah, but they have still no idea how they can go there. This is all about.
Yes, they do, Beatrice. They will from within themselves. And we're trying to put all these answers to how everyone should be. The answers will come from within themselves, not from me, not from you. We're helping people to find that God inside them, to find the answers inside them. I don't hold a frequency of forcing somebody. Think of that frequency, even showing people GPMS. I don't force people to see.
Giving supplementary explanation is not forcing. Giving supplementary explanation is not forcing. Giving the right explanation that they will understand the content, this is different.
Yes, but they will understand the content when they're fully ready. If they don't understand their fully content, they aren't ready from within. We're not trying to bring them people at this point. We're trying to find divine souls, the souls that can see without all that definition. And I'll give you an example. I walked through a protest in Denmark, read the energy of the people, met a beautiful soul in Anna, could feel her energy. Then she needed me to hold a space of love for her, which I did. Then she was ready to see for herself. I didn't have to explain anything to her. And many souls along my journey, I don't have to explain anything to them. What I've realized from the beginning of my journey, forcing it creates a negative energy. Allowing it to be and holding a space of love for the individual, even if they don't get it. I don't even talk to GPMS to begin with. I talk to them. How are you? I ask them questions about their journey. I learn a little bit more about who they are. I read their energy by them giving me the answers to where they're at. And then I'll speak to, by the way, did you know? What I'm saying to you is the energy of forcing sometimes creates the ripple of trying to explain too much that I don't wish to explain, because I know that soul is on a journey in themselves and they'll be ready to see. And many souls that I've met along my way in festivals and different places, I've let them be with GPMS and they come back to me instantly or within a few months or a month and said, yes, I can see. I'm not trying to force people to see it.
It's just again giving, how can I say, the correct explanation is to bringing people from the confusion that we have today inside of the freedom movement towards something that they are waiting for.
I don't have to do that.
It's not forcing, here it's practically giving them the direction that when you give them exactly what they need to hear, then they are able to find through 200 groups speaking only solution, they are able to find the solution. This is not forcing. Nobody can force somebody to agree or to consent or to participate. This is zero force. It's about what has to be told in February 2023 to advance, to gather, to catch the vote, because if we catch the vote this year, we can stop losing so many lives. If we catch the vote next year, we'll just continue to let the people to pass away. This is all about.
Beatrice, they're all going through a divine plan. They're all going through their own conscious journey. The souls that will be carrying over to the other side will be carrying over because they've already got a soul contract, is what I'm saying. You're not looking at it from a perspective as the whole.
We've probably gone down this route enough right now, and that's great. And again, discussing it, and maybe there's another time and place to discuss these things as opposed to the moving forward of GPMS inside of this. Certainly this conversation. So thank you. I'd like to, if we can, we're if anybody does watch this, we're 2.5 hours in already, and we're going around this. So if we can keep it more focused and more defined, we can move forward with the conversation. And that's not dismissing the issues, which I recognize fully. What it's saying is we've recognized those issues. Let's go past them right now in this conversation and move into where we're going to go next. Mike, over to you, Michael. You've had your hand up for a while, brother.
I'll be as brief as I can with it because it's touching on what was just being said. Obviously, I respect what you just said as well. I know you like to talk to GPMS as being a baby, and it doesn't have to explain itself. It just is, and it will become what it will become. I kind of see it as a tree where GPMS is the roots and the trunk, and people are asking what their position as an individual leaf is going to be. And I think I take a middle ground position back to the intermediaries. I take the middle ground between what Dean and Beatrice is in if it was just purely divine plan and it would all be okay with purely divine plan, GPMS wouldn't need to exist, full stop. It would just happen. But we have GPMS because we recognize that some kind of structure is, even if it's a divine structure, could be in place to facilitate that. So a middle ground would be essentially, I see it as some level of information, just enough to allow people to understand that there is a trunk, there are roots and there is a trunk. We don't need to explain what their individual position as leaves is going to be. But what we can do is we can say, here is the trunk from which a branch can grow, upon which you can be a leaf. How that branch will grow and your position as a leaf on that is going to be down to you and the individual culture, i.e. the branch that's coming from that. So yes, to what Beatrice is saying, just something that is just enough to be able to latch on to the idea a branch can grow from that, but not so much as to go into to cater to every single description of every single detail. There is a middle ground here, and I think that to move away from this discussion now, or from this point, yes, we've highlighted here that there could be something that will give a bit more traction, but without having to waste too much time going into the weeds and into the detail. And as Beatrice has pointed out, yes, that will be for individual quote unquote leaders or people who are involved to go into those details with their local groups, with their local communities and their local cultures on that level, if they need to be taken down there. But on the website, maybe something to let them know, to give security, the idea that there will be something from which a branch can grow, and that will be enough security within that person for them to then go, okay, to then be able to start thinking about, okay, well, if that's going to be there and I am secure and comfortable in the knowledge that that is going to be there, I am now confident to start making plans, to start saying, well, what can I do? You see what I'm saying? It's a middle ground.
What I'm going to ask then is for Michael and Beatrice to define the trunk, come up with some wording that you think would be enough that isn't already described on the website. And rather than say what we need is, bring it to the table and say, I think this is better. How does that sound?
Yeah, so practically it's exactly what Petrica Picui and I am saying, just in other words. Michael, it's speaking practically, give the people the direction, not force them into a system where you believe that they should be. Let them to grow from there. It's exactly what Petrica Picui is saying also. Give them enough that they will be understanding what they should do, the direction, how they can grow from where. Because if you give them like nothing.
Yeah, if you want them, Beatrice, so we can move this conversation forward, I will contact each other after and we'll arrange to have a discussion, and we can go over this in detail, separate to this, so that this discussion can now move forward. But yeah, I agree with. You see, I'm coming from a middle ground point here. I agree with you. I also agree with what Dean's saying, but I also very much agree with you. And there is a middle ground to be had. And I believe we can talk later about finding where that is and how we can apply that.
Listen, this is the point, guys. I mean, we can say, I believe this should be on the website, but then who's going to do it? What should be on the website? So rather, I get the thing about bringing it up and the discussion and the debate, but there's no answer. There's just a question to it for somebody else to put together. Now, what I would suggest is, again, with this, anybody that wishes to add to the website, maybe when we're considering adding to the website, we consider what it is that we have to add to the website, rather than just bringing in a generalized term of this needs to be, and bring that to the table. Bringing it to the surface to be discussed is awesome, but then expecting or anticipating that it will be satiated, who by? Again, in different countries, they're doing it in different ways. So if we can bring something to the table, we already have discussed this, we brought it up. Now we need some definition. So what is it that you actually want to see that carries more structure than is already there? And define that yourselves. Bring that to the rooms. Bring that to the discussion rooms as we are re-envisioning and refining the actual content on the website to simplify it for others without making it more complex. This is what I would suggest as we're discussing these things: is we have the solution. We have a solution, not just a thought problem. And we bring this to the table with the questioning. So as we construct all of this, we also have a construction that we've already got. So it's all very well. Again, Michael's saying we should have the branch and the roots so that people can see that. What I would suggest we already have. So what is it that is missing from having the branch and the roots, do you feel? And how would you describe the branch and the roots? The trunk and the roots differently to what is already there? If you get what I'm saying. So it's problem solution. Both of them come to the table.
And then how much of the old is still in your consciousness that's bringing that forward?
Well, if we bring a solution in as well, brother, if we bring in, this is what I think should be on the website, or this is how I've written it, then that can be discussed. But bringing in a general problem, we need to make it more substantial. I believe it carries plenty of substance, but yet you don't seem to. So everything I say about it as it stands is, well, it's not got enough. Well, what is it missing? This is the thing that we can then really move forward with. So again, I would like to iterate that anybody that comes with these solutions, if you will, bring something substantial with you that we can then discuss, as opposed to a loose generic. We need to define the roots, the branch and the trunk, and so people have got something to grab onto. Well, what do you see? Define that for the people. What wording do you see on the website that would make that simple for others to see? And where is that wording so we can discuss that, as opposed to going around it from different perspective? That's what I would say to this right now, guys. And again, I'm just trying to, because it's now fairly long. I don't mind the timing of it. It's just for others maybe that would like to see this, to see where this is going. So I could talk for hours on this, as a few of you already know. Brother Rick, you got your hand up.
Thank you, Lee. So simply, we wish to keep the website simply generic to the greatest extent that we can. And again, this is why we have the individual GPMS groups. Now, I wish to remind everyone once again here, what we are still doing in this process of taking GPMS forward, we are identifying the genuine leaders and speakers of the people. And during the course at Identify Them, they ideally come in to the GPMS country telegram groups. Now, during the course of this, again, I wish to reiterate, at identifying the genuine speakers of the people, we are also identifying what you can call as controlled opposition, that is obvious plants, if you will, by the resistance to humanity being free. but this is part of the process as well. So we are going through this identification process of who is genuine and who is not. And we don't focus on who is not. Again, we focus on finding our others that are in alignment, that are genuine, and that are in unity. So we're still going through this process as we're collecting the other individual voices and ones that are ready and are in agreement with it. Without making this lengthy, that's enough on that subject. And just with the emphasis, it's so pertinent for everyone to join these GPMS Telegram country groups, because this is where you begin your unity for your region and country. And it's so important. Then you bring in the ones that are aligned, and you begin, as Lee was saying, in your country, you begin to very quickly develop your huge think tank that has also all of the solutions. And you don't need all of the public, all of the people knowing what GPMS is. You only need these designated leaders talking the talk and putting it out there, and the rest will follow. So it's a misconception thinking you need 80% of the planet awake to get this done now. You actually need only these leaders identified and speaking it, and they give it to the 80%. Very quickly, Anne brought up a very beautiful point and information about ex-military, ex-police, you know, what have you, that are also coming into GPMS. And, you know, this is not only her experience, there are others worldwide, US, Canada, what have you. But the point with this, what everyone needs to realize, again, and I'm going to reiterate this one point, that as it stands now with the worldwide government network, the militaries and the police cannot act in the people's best interest, even though they may be informed. However, it's still very pertinent, and it is part of the plan that they are informed worldwide. And the message is getting in there, as Anne, let's say, indirectly demonstrated. And it's important to continue with this, any existing police and military that are open, to let them know that this choice is there, so they distribute it through their ranks or what have you. Because what has occurred upon the planet within any military and any police, there are two, let's say, the good cops and the bad cops. We don't care about the bad cops, they're outnumbered. What we care about is getting the message to the good cops, if you will, and letting them know that they have this choice. And that is so important. So even though in militaries and police worldwide, you may think that that it is a threat to humanity, it's not, because their consciousness will not let them if it comes to a serious situation. But it doesn't come to that. But I need to explain this, that they are ready to come with the people, and lawfully they must. So I just wanted to put that out. Thank you. And this is pretty lengthy. Yeah, Brother Lee, if there's any closing comments perhaps, or questions.
I was just going to go down that route. This has been awesome, guys. There's so much, you know, I really, really thoroughly enjoy these conversations as much as we go around the houses, and we may not all get the answers that we wish to seek. What we're doing is blowing through distortions in the moment, and the solutions will be, well, we're clearing collective distorted energetics all of the time with these, and that's what I recognize. And I have got so much great gratitude for you all for bringing this up. Now, I would like to say that it's been a fair old while on this one. Has anybody got any closing remarks, comments? And please keep it short, and I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, so Petrica Picui has also the hand raised. Petrica Picui, pot să te ajut cu ceva? Mai ai ceva de spus? Petrica, ești aici cu noi?
I think the hand was still raised from prior, Beatrice. It
Okay,
just didn't
yeah,
come
so
down.
he does not answer.
No, it was already up. I didn't take it down, so I don't think it was added up. Oh, maybe it is just back now. Okay, try again with Petrica.
Do you hear me?
Yes, brother.
Yes.
Okay. I want to ask if it's possible, because in Romania and in Italy, the corrupt media has manipulating very much the people. And now the ordinary people doesn't know anything about how can think, how can use his comportamental to come in the direction of GPMS has promoving. That's why I think to ask if it's possible to try offer them some guidelines. Why guidelines?
So this is yeah. So this is the discussion also that Miguel was here also, is practically to give them a little bit more directive guidelines in order to know a little bit what will be the direction, because the people are coming from far away, like they are not able to see the reality first. So we are speaking here about the very awake people, the awake people, and the people that practically they are not awake, but they hear the solution. And if the website can capture also their attention in a way, so if we can do something such divine, that practically we are able also to capture the attention for those that they are not full awake, or they are coming still after the television news and everything, that they may be a little bit confused, but they are practically not awake. So this is what Petrica Picui is, because he wants to pick up the people from this market when the people are still using the television news and they do not still follow how we can pick up the people from there. So this is, if we can do something to catch them.
The website, well, I will state this from my own opinion, my own background. The website GPMS is not looking to those people. Those people will come through their own fear and realize their own truths through the distortions in their own time. This is the time now for those that do see that there is something different, that are maybe trying to find a different solution outside of the situation. It's not for the people that are still following the fear narratives on the television. This is what Rick is speaking to with the 80%. We do not need those. We only need a couple of percent of the awakened ones, and that clears all of this. So again, we're reiterating the same point, and it's right at the end of this conversation. I don't really feel it's time to go back into that. But again, thank you so much for raising it. And we will see how this transpires. But I think the answer to educating the people who are in fear narratives from the television is not the direction of the website. But over to you, Brother Rick. You put your hand up again.
Thank you. You know, the best defensive is an offensive. And having saying this, what you don't do is go into their problems, if you will, Patrice. And what you say, you have a choice. And what you do is you show them the comparison old versus new on the website. You can open that up. You can say, all right, here's what we're voting on. You know, you have a choice, and you just say, do you want this world or not? They don't need to ask, how is it possible? But if they do, you just say simply, once we have the majority agreements, we create this. And within 4 billion people is all of the knowledge to do that. So you look at it, you can let them say that there's a worldwide vote going on right today, but there's only two parties. There is the good GPMS party, and there is the old worldwide evil politics. What do you choose? And then you can give them, the comparison page with what the GPMS party, if you will, what their platform is. And with that, on the GPMS comparison page is the old evil platform, which they can see, very easily to make their choice. And they don't need to know all the details, as Lee is saying. We only need more leaders like us, which is occurring, to speak this and let the people know that everything is fine. They have a choice. You just got to choose it. So thank you.
Okay, so 22 3/4. We got a last couple of minutes. I've just seen you put your hand up too. Last words or something to add?
Yeah, last adding words. Thank you, Rick, for everything that you've done so far. I appreciate that. I think coming back to the tree is we are needing the foundation. The GPMS, the vision, the mission that we're all working towards. So if we're looking from, I'm coming from a business perspective, viewpoint.
You're breaking up again, Minette. You're breaking up again. Yeah, we've lost you. Okay. For now, anybody?
If we put a plan on the table, that is the do, but we need to have the tools or the guidelines. And I do not appreciate being made still all the time. Like it feels you are doing it with all the women. But so I'll close it at that. So that was what I was wanting to say. I left a lot of messages on the chat group. So may you go ahead.
So I think we missed most of what that was. I just heard the last bit at the end of something about you didn't appreciate something. There's the breaking up an awful lot. We can barely hear what it is you're saying, especially in that last that last bit, Minette. Can you reiterate what was it that you were didn't appreciate? Or did? I didn't. I'm sorry. Just to clarify.
Sorry, I said no. I don't know what for breakup. Many of you guys did break up many times. So I just feel the foundation is not set quite firmly yet, and that is what you are establishing right now. Because
yeah, Minette,
the
you're
vision
breaking.
and the mission is the GPMS. In between stuff is not there. Show as well. That's fine. That is the South Africa's the country with no electricity. Yeah, we're living in load shedding, power cuts from the direct past and governmental structures. We're still dealing with that, as Wandera is also. So every country is different, every continent is different. We really do have our stuff that we're dealing with. But the guideline is to not focus on the past, focus on certain basic things.
We can't hear you, Minette. I'm going to have to. We can't. It's just breaking up so much. If anybody else was listening,
of humanitarian rights.
Perfect. Okay. Should we call this on to a close? I think. Final words, anybody? Last little bit without going into too far. It's been. I'm just love and light to you all. So much gratitude. Has anybody else got anything that they would like to add, just to say goodbye or to close?
Can I just add a few words?
Of course.
I would just say again, like it was for me on the 15th of October, GPMS, it's just so simple and easy. Everything you explain, talk to my inner child, and that's what so many people says to me. talk to my inner child, because we all have a child inside, and I say getting adult, don't do it, because obviously we stop thinking and feeling. So talking to the inner child, talking to the child we are within, make it simple, make it easy, talk about love and light. And that's the message. And when people are ready, they will read, and it's so fantastic. So that's my message.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love you, Anne. And Elizabeth, sorry, I should call you both names. Hey, that'll do, brother. You got anything to say for the final bits, just to finish it off?
All I wish to say is love, light, and gratitude to all. And we're in such an amazing time. And we're going to quickly see the energetics with GPMS build very rapidly. So with that, love, light, and gratitude to everyone.
Appreciate you all being here. I look forward to the next one in a couple of weeks, guys. Thank you all so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.